7:03. Members present, Bill and I. Hear from public. Anybody have anything to say? Not yet, okay. Briefing. Let's see. I'm going to be talking about the budget when we get down to it. So that's been primarily the information we have. I have been collecting a few pieces of information about the capital improvement plan. Bill, would you like to attend capital improvement planning meetings with us?
I'm going to try to.
Okay,
Chris gave me a call. I think, aren't those the dates you gave me, Chris? The 2 or
Yeah.
3 meetings coming up?
Yep.
good.
What?
I'd love your counsel for that. That would be good.
When are they scheduled, just to, so I can make a note of them again?
I'll let you know tomorrow. I don't have it here.
Yep,
Okay, because you were trying to arrange Zoom, weren't you?
yes, she did, if I recall. Let's see. As far as other things, I can tell you we've got a lockbox for the town offices that will be put up this week. It's to take in town business, any kinds of interaction from the public. So, and we're making sure that it is set up so that it's at wheelchair height, so that everybody can get to it. And we think that'll be helpful for people who want to drop off things after hours. Let's see. Other things. I think generally that's about it. Christy, you didn't have anything to add, did you?
No.
I didn't have a lot for tonight. Okay. Hi, Roger. Roger's now with us.
Evening, Roger.
Good evening.
Good to see you. How are you feeling? Everybody okay?
Everybody's much, much better.
Very good.
Good to hear.
Okay. Hear from boards, commissions, committees? I don't think we have anything here. Acceptance of minutes of regular meeting of January 4th. Have you had an opportunity to look at the minutes, gentlemen?
I have, and I move we accept.
Second that?
Very good. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. The old business, having none tonight. New business, tax refunds. I believe we actually don't have any tonight. Is that correct, Chris?
Yep, we have none.
We,
Preliminary discussion regarding the 21-22 budget. The budget packets are coming in from the various departments. We anticipate having those together for you for the next Board of Selectmen meeting. And we also anticipate that we will be meeting not only for that meeting, but we'll also have a meeting that following Saturday to go through them in detail, the way we typically have. So I hope you'll both be able to be available then.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much all we have on that. I will tell you that there are some items that have come up that will probably be in the capital improvement budget. One is, I think I mentioned before, the replacement of the HVAC control system that we have. And that's going to be about $19,000. And that's because what we have is not working well. And it is the HVAC for the town office building.
Mm.
So that's one. Another one has come up. If I understand correctly, planning and zoning will have something come up that's we don't typically have. And that has to do with a plan of, bear with me, for affordable housing, an affordable housing plan, which I believe may or may not be required. So that one could come up, and that might be anywhere between 5 and 15,000. We believe around 5. Yes, John.
I'll just note to jump in, because I'm doing a bunch of affordable housing plans in different towns. It is required.
It is required.
As of July 1, 2022. So by the end of the next fiscal year, every town must have their first 5-year plan in place.
All right. So we would anticipate having this be part of the 21-22 budget.
Yeah, just to comment on that. when we were originally planning our elderly housing, there were affordable housing analysis that were required at the time.
Yes.
And we met and exceeded the minimum requirements on that.
Yep.
Primarily with the Lake Chaffee area and that. I'm not sure if, Chris, if we have any of that when it comes to putting this together, I think that may be helpful.
I
think that-
will look in boxes.
I think planning and zoning has some information on this as well. So,
Catherine, I'm sorry
yes,
if I and just not to throw a monkey wrench in, but the statute that requires it is section 830J.
yes.
And it actually doesn't designate any particular entity in town as being responsible for writing this plan.
I didn't notice that.
It just
Thank you.
says the town shall. So it really is an open question of whether or not it's the Planning and Zoning Commission's responsibility or Board of Selectmen or town meeting. It just
What
says
have you-
town shall.
What have you seen? You have some familiarity with this.
Yeah, so I mean, different towns are doing it differently, but generally speaking, the planning and zoning commission is kind of taking the lead with staff, and there's usually some input and involvement from the Board of Selectmen
Very
to
good.
just kind of have, some steering committee type buy-in.
Okay.
But I think it would work best if it was a small group kind of working on it, and then sort
What
of.
about the people who are doing our small cities? And have for years?
So you mean the consultants? You use someone like Peter Huckins or something like that?
Yes.
It's really a different animal. I think that one of the recommendations or implementation items of the plan itself might be to direct more small cities funds, in this direction or that direction to focus. That's really one step of many. I don't, and nothing against Peter or those administrators, but they're the sort of the paperwork people. They're not necessarily the planners.
John, these other towns that are doing this,
Yes.
have they been able to get a grant for it?
Yes. And it's possible that I don't want to promise because I do not know, but it's possible that Department of Housing may provide some additional planning funding. And well, obviously, if that's available, we are jumping all over it for you guys. But I don't know.
Okay, thank you though.
But I did have this conversation with Mike D'Amato today, that we have done work of this type, doing sort of a specialized plan within sort of the flow of our annual planning contracts with the communities. And I have no problem with that. But there's an opportunity cost. So planning and zoning would have to sort of say, all right, we have these other priorities. We'll kind of put them on the back burner. If we're going to fix some regs or something like that, let's back burner that, focus on affordable housing this year, and then we can pick up the other stuff next year. But I would also leave that to Mike because he's on the ground.
John, is there a drop dead date or a deadline on when something like this has to be prepared, or?
Right. So it's a 5-year plan, a 5-year cycle, and the statute was passed effective July 1, 2017. And so even though the statute didn't explicitly say this, I think Department of Housing's interpretation is because the law passed, now 3.5 years ago, by the end of the first 5-year cycle, which is July 1, 2022, every town should have their first 5-year plan in place. But also, I'll note, there is no statutory stick, there's no hammer at this point for towns that are out of compliance, the way there is with a plan of conservation and development. If you don't have an updated plan of conservation and development, you might not be eligible for steep grants and things like that. That's not the case with affordable housing plan grant or affordable housing plans yet. All you need to do, the first selectman just needs to send a letter in to the state explaining why you haven't gotten to update it yet.
Okay.
So there's no hammer yet, but the legislative session is young.
Are there any carrots?
Well, the carrot was there was a first round of grants. But yeah, they weren't big numbers. I think it was $15,000 grants
Did we get
to a,
any?
to a limited number of towns. What's that? I'm sorry, Roger.
Did we get any grants?
Not for this round.
No, not this one.
John, is this something that we would partner or include the housing authority with?
Yeah, I would think you'd want to involve them.
Because when the last one we did, the housing authority more or less spearheaded it on the research and putting a lot of it together. We found per capita, we had a surprisingly large number of apartments also in town based on our population. And that helped, fill that void that some people perceived we had.
Right. Yeah, and I think and there's well, I don't want to get too far into the weeds and hijack your selectmen meeting, but there's a difference between what we refer to as sort of naturally occurring affordable, which are sort of the apartments that grow up in support of Yukon or something like that, and capital A affordable, which is what the state uses to count compliance with Section 830G of the statutes. And
How do Section 8s figure into that, John?
if they're income limited, they're counted towards the state's bottom line. If they're income limited, deed restricted, or have a CHFA or USDA mortgage,
Yeah,
sort of like those first-time homebuyer programs,
Yeah.
those all count to the state's bottom line.
that was another thing that we did, a number of years ago. I think we were among 3 municipalities in the state. If I'm not mistaken, we were the first to develop a first-time home buyers program. And I
Nice.
forget the number, but we had 4 or 5 homes take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that's and that's something I'm working on, the one in Hampton right now, and I've been sort of tracking their state bottom line number,
Yeah,
and they were at 2 or 3%, and then for a couple of years they ticked up to 5 or 6%, and that was exclusively because of those first-time homebuyer type things.
Yeah.
It wasn't a formal effort of the town. I think probably maybe just an enterprising realtor, was a little bit more aggressive in encouraging their potential buyers to go after these programs, because it would allow them to buy a little bit more house in Hampton, and so working with realtors is actually a pretty good action step,
yeah. I know it worked out well. We would have liked to have continued it, but we were being subsidized by the CDBGs, and
Mhm.
that particular element of it were cut out.
Okay. John, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Sure, I'll go back to shutting up now.
Okay, if we can, moving on to the submission of the application for the 2021 Brownfield Grant Round, focusing on remediation of the Cadle Rock property in the amount of $250,000.
I will move that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Would you like any discussion?
I Googled that cattle rock, and boy, did I get me an education.
You
Holy
should see, I think the
moly.
pile of documentation was at least 4 feet tall. So, because it has quite a history.
I mean,
Roger,
it's just
how many
a bunch
states-
of
how many
lawyers that got so many lawsuits. It's incredible.
Well, that's not unintentional from his part, from what I understand, but how many states did you actually show lawsuits? Did they break it down?
I got Cattle Rock versus LaBelle, Lemking, Herodine, Roman, Carrion, Klutzman, Wilder, Kleinstadt. It just goes on and on and on for a
Does it
variety of different things, but largely dealing with real estate.
Yeah. Does it indicate the states those properties are
All
involved in?
over. New York State, Ohio, some Virginia, all over.
Yeah, I heard that there were quite a few down south.
Yep.
All-
Florida.
There's-
Yep.
Spreading the magic all over.
Yes.
Okay, so any discussion about this anymore? Okay, all in favor?
What is Wyndham, I'm sorry, is Willington also part of?
Yes, they
Okay.
have a piece of it, a smaller, much smaller piece than we do.
Now we've
But
got,
they're working with us. We're in
Yep.
partnership on this.
now we've got 900,000 in back taxes for Ashford.
About that,
And Willington has like 92,000 approximately. Is that
I think so.
okay? Wow.
Oh, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. And I think we're in a pretty good position with this. I don't think we're gonna need a lot of help with getting the grant itself. I think, again, we're in a good position. So I'm hoping that will get through with no issues.
Mhm.
Remarks for the good of the board.
Stay safe, everyone.
You too. You too. And motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good evening and like you said, stay safe.
You as well.